Hello, everyone. This is Jimmy Cultist, back again to deal with our lovely friend, Megalon, whom we all admire. I am going to go ahead and add some antenna, mainly because I keep forgetting and I'm worried that if I put this off too long, I may just, miss out on it entirely. People who are familiar with some of my older works may remember that I omitted the horn on Anguirus's, nose, purely because I forgot to, put it in. Oh, wait a minute. We want this to be a separate sculpt. We'll go ahead and copy out the horn. Just move it up a little bit. Use it as a center point for our... That'll do. The horn appears to not quite be centered. That's something we might want to correct a little bit. But anyway, if you grab this, press L1 and R2, then press the right arrow on the D-pad, you can dupe out things like this. I'm not sure how big we're going to want his antenna to be. Also, that's a little crooked. We need it better. There we go. And now we're just going to go ahead and, now that we've mirrored them, I want to make them two separate sculpts so that we can kind of, alter their position a bit. Go ahead, use Grid Snap and the Cut tool. Delete the copy. Then we're going to live clone. Be sure to press this on. And then we'll just dupe them with L1 and R2. And there you've got his antennae. I'm going to try to relocate them a bit. I'm not entirely sure how I want them to. I think that might do. If we want to alter it later, that can be accomplished. I think I might shrink the eyes just a tad. Or not. We'll play around with this. I do want to get a lot of progress done on the head, though, because I feel like the head is lacking. And we're going to add a little bumpiness to this thing. And we are going to shrink them just a tad. And move the jaws in, I think, make them smaller, something of that nature. Speaking of the jaws, they could use some work. I might just rehaul them, overhaul them, I should say, entirely, because I'm dissatisfied with how they look. Pretty sure they were only temporary to begin with. We'll use our friend, the good old half sphere. That's pretty good. I'm really starting to like that. I will say a lot happens in the design process of these things. When I'm like messing around with the sculpting tools, sometimes I discover stuff that I really like. And it sort of alters the final product from what I originally intended. But it's, you know, it's spontaneity. I highly advise, if you're an artist, don't be too rigid. I find the problem with a lot of stuff that people make now is there's sort of a agreed upon pattern to things where people are like, well, you can't make this unless you make it this particular way, and the result is we get a lot of boring stuff that's very formulaic. And it doesn't really work. Really, all creativity comes down to is taking things that exist in the world and slightly altering them a bit. And the talent of creativity is to do it in a way that people find engaging and interesting, even though tons of people before you have been doing the same thing for hundreds of years. There is no such thing as a truly original subject. As an example, Megalon himself is essentially just a beetle, you know, combined with a few other elements. You know, we put drills on a beetle, and we combined him with the characteristics of a mole, and we've got Megalon. He's delightful and memorable. I think he might actually be more memorable than the actual, you know, film he appeared in. But that's a good example of how creativity works. It's really not... It's not as convoluted or as difficult as a lot of people say it is. It does take a certain knack, though, I think. Everything takes a certain knack. It's almost like people have certain things that are, like, programmed into them. You know, like, they're gonna be really good at this one particular thing. It's really odd. A lot of people say, oh, I can learn any skill I want to. Not really. You're gonna be a mediocre thing, you know, you're gonna be mediocre at that thing if you're not really interested in it and if you're just learning the skill for the sake of it. Also, if you don't take it seriously, if you think of it as a hobby, you're only gonna have the traits of, you know, a hobbyist. You're not gonna have true talent in whatever you're trying to do. You have to take it 100% seriously if you actually want to amount to anything. And what I mean by that is not necessarily that you have to be really uptight about the thing, you know, or always working, but you have to be, like, dedicated, you know, like, willing to improve. A lot of people don't care about improving, they just are okay with the bare minimum. And really, improvement comes naturally. It's not even something you really have to force yourself to do. You just naturally want to do it once you get addicted, you know? Once you're like, oh, I want to see how far I could go if I could, you know, do this. I feel like Megalon's face is kind of wide. Vaguely, my interpretation of Megalon reminds me if you combined, strangely, if you combined Darth Vader and Megalon. Don't think that was the intention, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. I think I want to kind of make the face taller. It's lacking a certain balance of some kind, but the exact nature of it is escaping me. Could be the top of the head, or the distance between the eyes. Yeah, the eyes were too close together. I think that's what it is. I must admit that I don't actually think very much about these things in terms of when I design them. I like draw up some concept art. But I don't actually, what is the word? Let's make the eyes just a tad smaller. I think. Gotta think about this. Yeah, maybe they're the right size. I think I'm overthinking this. But I don't really think hard about this in terms of when I'm designing it on paper. What it is it's like the shape. I scribble out a bunch of different, doodles and stuff until I get this shape I find that's interesting. And I don't really have a design philosophy in mind. Well, people will be naturally attracted to the tip of his head if I add this or whatever. It's like, I really don't put that much thought into it. Not that everything I create has no philosophy in it whatsoever as far as design is concerned, but a lot of it is just kind of me doing whatever I can kind of feel it out. I think when you're good at a certain thing, that's kind of how it is. when you're good at a certain thing, you just kind of know innately. You're like, if you look at people who are super famous in history, you know, and are really talented at their craft, you know, famous engineers, something you often hear is that they're able to picture things in their head without actually, you know, seeing them. Or they're able to intuit things, you know, before they even get to drawing on the paper or whatever, and building the house or constructing the train or whatever it is that they actually do. It's like they have an idea in their head before they do it, and then they just execute the idea. And I think when you're naturally talented at something, when it's a part of your being, so to speak, you just don't think about it. And one of the things that's kind of a sign that you're either okay at something or not particularly talented is if you have to think about it really, really hard, in my opinion. If you have to go to school and, like, you know, not necessarily that you have to learn things, but if you have to, like, actually think hard about it and it doesn't come naturally, I think that's kind of a sign that maybe you should get a different profession. Also, I find that a lot of stuff people do, it starts out, you know, with their childhood. Things they did when they were younger, generally. Because I've been sculpting with clay, you know, they were pretty crude sculptures, but I've been working with sculpting things even when I was a child, and I had a lot of interest in the subject. I was interested in stop motion for a little bit too. Ray Harryhausen, that sort of stuff. And I think that may have translated, at least the passion, you know, the interest in that subject may have translated a bit to some of the things I make now. It's a constant game of improvement, though. Nothing is never enough, as it were. That also might be another sign that you're not cut out for whatever job you are. If you're actually satisfied, that's probably a bad sign. It means that you're going to stop at level 2. When really what you're trying to achieve is level 100. Not that you can't be, you know... there are some things I've made where I'm just like, okay, objectively, that's as far as I'm going to take it. I don't think you need to obsess over it too long, but there needs to be this drive to constantly, you know, make the thing as good as it can be. And when you've reached the point where you're like, okay, I don't think I can go any further, and it's probably better as it is, you know. There is a point at which we all have to call it, you know, call it a day. Even people who are, you know, very well respected in their field admit that, you know, well, I could have done better on this back in the day, you know, but it's all water under the bridge now, and I kind of have to accept it. Have to accept it for what it is, you know. Another thing you see with a lot of really talented people is they're not actually as convinced of their own greatness as other people are about them. They'll be like, this person is the god of automobile creation, and when you actually talk to them, they're like, I'm not the god of anything. I just like making cars. Another thing people will do is they'll imitate. They'll be like, I'm going to imitate the great master who made the greatest cars. Very often what you actually want to do, what he did, was he did do a little bit of imitation, but he would try to find his own way, so to speak. He would try to find his vision, his method of doing things, the thing that made his cars distinctive, or made whatever it was he did distinct. If you're trying only to imitate, you're not going to be anything special. It's human expression. It's true that there's a lot of, what is the word? There is a lot of cynicism concerning art, because art is largely commercial at the moment. There's always been an element of commercialism to art, but it's really bad and really out of hand right now, to an insane degree. I would say actually commercialism in general is out of hand. It's becoming ridiculous. The horn is a tough subject. I almost feel like I want to make it bigger, but let's go back a bit. Gonna mess around with this a tad. See what sticks, so to speak. It's going to cost us extra time, but I think the results are going to be better in the long run. I think I might have an idea. Yes, I think I'm getting the inkling of something. Maybe we shouldn't linger on this too long. Let's get those wings dealt with. That's a big problem. My madness may make more sense in the future. My method. Gotta kind of correct. Yeah, I think we're getting ideas here. Alright, now I think I'm going to go ahead and cut these in half. Because we are going to need this as two separate entities later. We're not going to cut it exactly dead center because I intend to do some trimming. We might go back to the more rounded appearance later if we find it expedient. That's good, I think. There will, of course, be modifications, but we're in a generally good zone, I think. A position of goodness, as they say at Houston Control. By the way, when you're sculpting something and you get further and further away from the position of goodness, it's very demoralizing. It's like, this is just going so badly. There have been occasions like that. I find when you're making a major leap, in terms of skill level, there's going to be some initial burnout where you're like, this is not adequate. But you kind of have to go through that. Just go right ahead and keep on trying. Otherwise, you're just gonna sputter and not really get much of anywhere. It's weird. I'm almost in the mood to give him a fourth layer, or I should say a secondary pair of wings, just because of the shape doesn't quite balance well to me. We'll see about that. I want to kind of avoid a fourth pair, because that's really similar to that other design. More recent and more well-known Megalon design. I'm not a big fan of that. Not the design itself, but I'm not a big fan of when things are too similar to each other. I don't have a problem with that short film. I think they did a decent job of recreating the Megalon magic. But I am me and not them. I gotta do something a little bit different. Otherwise, I might as well just go ahead and be them. And since I am not them, that would seem kind of redundant, wouldn't it? It's one of the reasons, occasionally I like recreating monsters. You know, if they have really good designs, but I'm not a super big fan of just making recreations. For one thing, it's actually difficult because you have to adhere, to the same design that was used. But another reason why I don't like doing it is just because it's boring. I'm one of those people who really likes drawing outside the lines, so to speak, and I like to do my own thing, and it just gets annoying when I have to, rely on a template of some kind. It's actually one of the reasons why I don't like making I don't like making cities that actually exist in real life. For the Godzilla game, that occasionally comes up. It's like, oh, New York City. It's like the idea of fighting in New York City is cool, but that means I have to make somewhere that actually looks like New York City. And that means I'm forced to actually make it look like a template of some sort. And it's just annoying to me. I have to make it look like New York. I have to worry about whether it is convincing as New York. And I just don't like that. I've done it before, though. I'm not incapable of working within a template. It's just not my favorite approach, shall we say. In a lot of ways, my approach has been very inconsistent with my Godzilla games. It's like, on the one hand, there's completely, there's my own original designs for monsters kind of thrown in there. Original meaning they use the monster's design as a basis, but I kind of do some things of my own. Not that they're completely 100% original. It's not what I'm trying to convey. But yeah, there's a few of them where I kind of, do my own thing. Those ones are generally the ones I have the most fun with. But then there's ones where I do an exact recreation, and it might be kind of confusing to people. You know, how come sometimes he does it and sometimes he does? You know, like, how come Batra he recreates 100%, but other creatures he kind of like does his own thing? You know, what separates the ones that you're doing an absolute replica of, you know, versus the ones you don't? I think in a lot of cases it's where the thing is just so good I don't want to alter it, or maybe not so good, but it's like I'm not even interested in redesigning it. Like, Batra is perfectly adequate. I guess I just don't have strong inclinations to redesign Batra. A good example of one that's pretty untouchable for me is Kiryu. Like, that's a monster that I really just, you know, that's pretty good design. I don't really feel like touching it. Now, something like Mechagodzilla with a, you know, he's pretty iconic, the original one, that is. But I can kind of see how he could be improved a bit. Just in terms of the quality of the suit or whatever, not so much the overall design. I think there's a lot of good principles at play with Mechagodzilla's design. It's just, it could be improved just because they didn't have the bestest technology at the time to realize the critter. Or the mecha, I guess, in this case. We're finally getting somewhere, though, with Megalon. I think we're gonna almost to the painting phase. Not quite. Megalon's very wrinkly, like a prune. Has a lot of ridges. At least my Megalon does. I guess I'm going for kind of a almost, I don't know, what is the word? Rocky aesthetic? Like, he's made of rocks or something? I don't know. Industrial? It's not a bad idea, by the way. Sometimes I do feel like perhaps I constrain myself a bit, relying too much on the original design. It's a good design, but, you know, maybe a rock Megalon is something people actually need to see. I'm not going to go that far, though. It'd be different, though. It's hard to tell. That's why it's difficult. Some people, they really have the moxie. I don't know if I'm quite the kaiju guy, 100%. I enjoy it, but, you know, the results... Maybe the results are iffy sometimes. I think Billy, perhaps, is the kaiju guy. I really like a lot of the results. Pretty much the entire cast of Monster Bash were designed by... I don't think I even had a hand of any of them, now that I think of it. Pretty much the entire cast, though, was designed by Billy. And it's got some good design philosophies. For kaiju, specifically. I'm okay at regular monsters, I think. Little monsters are my thing, I think. I was always more creeped out by them anyway. Some people are scared of giant monsters. When I was a child, I was really scared of little monsters. You know, like little creepy crawly things. I guess because they seemed a little bit more personal, maybe. Like, the big guy, you know, he might step on you by accident, but I'm sure he didn't know he was doing that. Creepy crawly things, they know. They know exactly what they're doing. That's another thing. Monsters that can talk generally makes them less scary. Because you realize that anything that talks can probably be reasoned with. I know there are exceptions to this rule. Some people can talk and they can't be reasoned with. But, you know, that there's kind of a general aspect of humanity that if something is intelligent, we can talk it into, you know, accepting us or something like that. Or at the very least, it suffers from the same problems we do, you know. It can be tricked. If it's intelligent, it can be fooled. Now, with something that's purely instinctual, it's true that it's dumb, but it's also unreasonable, unpredictable. Animalistic. Let's add a little bit more detail to this. I might get a little bit crazy, actually, with this upper plate. I don't know what to call it. Might go a bit off into weird territory. I'm sure there's someone in the audience somewhere who's like, oh no! He ruined it! It was almost perfect! That's how new things get created, by the way. Half the stuff I make is me basically just being like, well, I don't like the way they did it, so I'm doing it this way. Not in every case. Sometimes it's more like, I like the way they did it, but they also could have done it this way. I'm better, though, when I'm kind of loose, you know, working in my own ridiculous headspace. Trying out odd things. Yeah, actually, I kind of weirdly think that this has some workable qualities to it. I think the neck, something about the neck needs some kind of maybe this needs some kind of something to frame the face. I'm having difficulty. Don't really know if this works at all, but we're gonna give it a shot. Yeah, I think maybe we'll leave it like that. That is weird, and I'm not quite certain if it works, but we'll go ahead and give it a try. I'm feeling more in the mood to experiment, shall we say. And perhaps with just a little tilt, we can do something neat with the back of the head, too. Yeah, that's interesting, actually. Now, I might add just a little bit of a... I don't know what to call this, exactly. And just move the wings out a little bit. Move them up to... Yeah, I think we got something going here. We got a Megalon. Maybe shrink the head. Nah, leave the head the same. The horn is still a little suspect to me. I'm gonna try and do something with the horn. I remember that was actually a problem the last time I tried to redesign Megalon. I was dissatisfied with the horn. I think the horn is just one of those things that messes with my head. I think it's starting to look like what I want. I think I'm starting to get to where I like it now. It's really nice when these things come together and they don't give you much trouble. I can think of a few examples where they do. Ghost Godzilla was a very problematic fellow, did not want to come together. I built him several times and could never get him quite right. Now he finally is, of course. I think I've finally found the look that I wanted, but it was very arduous getting there. Real quick, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to turn off the luminoise and the color tint amount. Yeah. Megalon. He's begun to take shape. Even better. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but I like it. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Yes. That is pretty good. I'm satisfied. I do think his little, this thing could be moved out just a tad. Or we could just cut a little bit. It's another alternative. Well, I think we're out of time, but we've made substantial Megalon gains, so there is that. Let's give a quick shout out to our monthly supporters of coffee. There they go. Pretty good. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. If you wish to support our earnest insanity, you can check the links in the description to donate or buy merch. Until next time, goodbye.